Hey everyone, Pierre here. So in this video, I want to walk through a campaign that we're about to launch for Understory. So as some of you know, Alex, Ali, and I have been working pretty closely over the last 6 months. And we thought, hey, why not run a campaign for ourselves internally, right? We're doing this for other clients, so we might as well do it for ourselves. And so this is a great example of, how you can use Clay. It's not going to be extremely technical, but I do know that a lot of you are in the sales and marketing space and you haven't heard of Clay. And so I think this is a great opportunity to at least see the basic features and some of the things that you can do with Clay. So without further ado, let's jump right in. And just to preface this, so we are going to be as relevant as possible by reaching out to companies who are hiring for sales roles. And so we're using a hiring trigger as the basis of this campaign. And so what we like to do is prioritize relevance over anything, right? So if a company is hiring for sales talent, then it's indicative that they're looking to scale and they're looking to generate pipeline. What do we do as an agency? We help companies scale and generate pipeline. And so, yeah, Clay is going to allow us to find these companies hiring for these roles very easily. And then it's also going to allow us to further enrich this data so that we can make sure that we're targeting companies that are actually in our ideal customer profile in our ICP. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Okay, great. So Clay has a native find jobs function, which is pulling LinkedIn data. And so you're able to include things such as job titles. I'll do a quick example just to show you guys what that would look like. So let's say we want a software engineer with experience. So the beauty of this is that you can actually mention what experience they want. So even though you may be looking for a software engineer, you only want a software engineer with experience in Python. And so you can actually get this granular with Clay's jobs find jobs function. And then in terms of location, you can add, let's say we're looking only for companies hiring for this role in the US. And then this is fairly important. We only want companies that have posted this job in the last 30 days. And so we'll write 30 here. This is super quick. Like we should get these results any minute now. So software engineers, US in the last 30 days that have experience in Python, right? So let's give this a second. Awesome. So 20,000 matching results. So 20,162 individual job postings of companies hiring for software engineers with experience in Python. So I'm sure you can see how powerful this is. Now, let me go a little bit deeper into Understory's case. So we're looking for companies hiring for entry-level sales roles, right? Because that shows that they're looking to generate pipeline, generate leads. And so we have all these roles right here. You can see in the top here, there's 5,000 results. So 5,000 individual job postings. Now, notice how it says 221 out of 5,000. Why does it say this? Because we decided to filter a ton to make sure that we're being hyper targeted with who we're reaching out to. And the first thing that we do is we use AI to make sure that we are only targeting B2B SaaS startups. And so, we're prompting ChatGPT here, and we're saying based on the company domain, go into the website and make sure that this is a B2B SaaS. If B2B SaaS output true, otherwise output false. And then we're only filtering for true because as an agency, we only want to work with B2B SaaS companies. Another filter that we do is we also only want to work with companies that are between a range of ARRs. So between 2 million and 50 million, I put here. So we don't want to work with companies that are doing less than 2 million. And then we also excluding some locations that we don't want to work with. So point is that we are really filtering down to our ICP. And so we end up with 221 job postings of these companies out of the 5,000 that we got originally. And another thing that we did is we also deduped. And so what you'll notice is that a lot of companies are hiring for the same role. Say Google is always hiring for software engineers. And so there's a dedupe function here within Clay that you can just click, and you'll notice that we don't have any duplicates. But if you wanted to dedupe, simply click on the column that you want to dedupe, and then you should be good to go. So now we know which companies are in our ICP, and we know that they have a need. We know that they have a need to grow pipeline. So now we need to find people that are working at these companies. How do we do that? Well, we click here on actions and then find people at these companies. This is a native function within Clay. And so what happens when we find people at these companies? It builds us a new table with people who work at these companies. Now, it's not just anybody working at these companies. We're only looking to target, folks that have roles such as VP of sales, VP of marketing, head of sales, CEO, CMO. So these are all ICP job titles that we like to go after. And yeah, once we pull those lists, you can see we have 2,200 rows, so 2,200 individuals that we can target. We're using a Clay's native VLOOKUP function to bring in data from the other table, which is very relevant for us. So this is just for hygiene. I want to be able to see which role they're hiring for. I want to make sure that they're a B2B SaaS. And then we get into a little bit more of enrichment and cleaning. And so oftentimes when you pull data from the internet, you'll have things like, you'll have, when you pull company names, you'll have maybe LLC next to the company name or incorporated, things like that. So we're making sure not to have this by telling OpenAI, ChatGPT, hey, clean the company name and remove anything like LLC or Inc. from the text. And so we end up getting a much cleaner company name. To give you an example, Egress over here, if you look at their company, it's actually Egress a know before company, right? Egress a know before company. And since we're able to clean this data at scale, now we're only getting egress. So when we use this in a sentence, it just sounds a lot better. We're not saying, hey, I notice you work at egress a know before company. We can just say, hey, I notice you work at egress. So that's great. Then I'm cleaning up the location. I want to know which countries they're in by telling ChatGPT, hey, based on the city or whatever information you see here, just output the country that they're based out of, and then the industry, right? So even though we get this data already, there's like sub-industries, subcategories of industries. So this maybe could be considered cybersecurity, but what field in cybersecurity do they work in? And this happens to be email security. And so again, we're using AI to go on the website and to analyze which specific niche this company works in so that we can use this in an email. Now, one of the most beautiful things about Clay, and as you can see, I didn't run any of these because I wanted to run them live with you. And so with Clay, what we're able to do is called a waterfall enrichment. So for those of you who have used Clay, you're already very familiar with this. But for those of you who haven't, we're able to pull in data from a bunch of different sources. And so, there's a ton of email providers out there. Some common ones say RocketReach. We actually have access to RocketReach directly with Clay, right? So RocketReach account. And so you're either able to use Clay credits or you can plug in your own API key and use those that software's own credit system. And that's the beauty of Clay, is that we're overloaded with a bunch of softwares nowadays, a bunch of tools, and Clay allows you to centralize everything. And so if I were to just let's say I'm going to run the first 10 columns in real time, just so I can show you guys. These are all the email finding providers that we're going to use. So in the past, we used to, maybe go to one email finding provider, and if they couldn't find it, we would have to go into another email finding providers, and we'd be paying for all these different softwares and silos. Now you just pay for one software and get all of that in under one roof. So let's run 10 rows here just to show you guys what happens. So as you can see, it's running and it's actually going through each individual. The reason it's saying run condition not met here, by the way, is because I changed the order of my email finding so that Prospeo is first. So it'll go through Prospeo first and then to these other email sending providers. So as you can see, we're able to find a good amount of emails here. We don't even need to use the other providers in this case. For more niche scenarios, say you're looking for a private practitioner's contact information, then you might need to leverage other data providers. But in this case, Prospeo seems to have done a great job at finding the contact information. And what's happening here is you can see the little gear icon is moving. We're actually validating the emails. So we're doing this through a custom HTTPI request through a software called BounceSpam. And so not only does Clay have native integrations with a bunch of tools, but it also allows you to connect with tools that aren't native via an HTTP request. Great. Let's add this result as a new column. The reason for that is we only want to bring in leads into our sequencer that are deliverable. And if I were to run a couple of these, so what we've done is we connected our sequencer, which in this case is SmartLead, to Clay. And this is adding all the data in a SmartLead. And I will show you what that looks like in SmartLead in a second. So now we are pushing all the relevant data that we just collected, right, live on this video, the email information. Okay, great. So this is what the final copy would look like. So notice Egress is hiring a ton of entry-level sales positions. How confident are you that adding more SDRs will move the growth needle? As of September 2024, 80% of all B2B outreach sends in spam. Let's make sure egress doesn't fall in the same trap. Would you be free for a complimentary email deliverability audit sometime next week? No strings attached. And then the PS is also showing them why it's relevant. We targeted you because we only work with B2B SaaS, have clients in the email security space, and have clients in the email security space. It's also clear that egress is looking to scale. So you can see why this is relevant and targeted. And also notice how this is kind of loading in real time. That's because we're actively pushing in the leads from Clay. And so the API is refreshing our sequencer. Sweet. So if you stuck around until now, thanks for watching. I hope that you learned something and can see how powerful Clay is. Again, we're able to pull a bunch of data from a bunch of sources all into one centralized platform. And not only that, but we can also make sense of that data. If you have any more questions about how you can use this for your own business, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to chat. Thanks again. Talk soon. Bye.